Okay, so this is going to be the wine marketer introduction to the wine marketers team. Basically, my wine journey and how I came to Scout and Cellar, how I came to selling Scout and Cellar. I grew up in a college town in Northern California that is notorious for partying. They were like Playboy's #1 party school. Actually, the year I was born. So we had a big reputation. And, going to high school and college, that's kind of the thing that kids do to rebel before you're 21 is drink alcohol when you're not supposed to or overindulge in excess of alcohol. So in this call, we're just basically going to be talking about the responsibilities of alcohol and how to use it as a tool. Because when we're growing up in America, we do not use it as a tool. It's an act of rebellion and an act of excess. In Europe, they do not do that. Children have a little bit of wine with dinner. In France, that's culturally acceptable. That's how they grow up around wine. Like, they have a responsibility with it and an understanding where they don't need to go Rumspringer on it in a way. So seeing this growing up in this college party town and in my high school, I wasn't really ever interested in even drinking it. I didn't really like the taste of anything, especially beer. I was so much not into it. I was on a social norming committee in high school through a club called Friday Night Live that helps kids be leaders in their community, in their schools, so that, and the basis of it is that you can have fun without alcohol, you can have fun without drugs. And I really enjoyed that club. So I was on a social norming committee to help my fellow students realize how many people of their peers actually drank alcohol. Come to find out, this study yielded that 51% of our student body would, after a survey, would drink alcohol on a weekend, on a monthly basis or something like that. And so, the whole goal was that most don't. They wanted to say most people don't drink alcohol. But I was like, well, that's not the reality. We need to present the reality. And the reality was like, okay, well, most don't. And I made sure that we put 51% on the poster so that people could really understand what was going on. So much so this is like a big problem. Slightly more than half my school would, be drinking alcohol or quote unquote abusing it as a teenager in high school. Think about it, because of the influence of this party town college reputation. So, even in high school, I would be able to go to college parties and just like the smell of beer and the debauchery and just the grossness of the beer on the floor just made me not like beer. Besides the fact that I also grew up with an alcoholic dad who loved his beer, and he would be a really quiet kind of recluse alcoholic, but if he got upset, so nothing too bad, but enough to where it was damaging to the household and our psyches. So basically, I grew up with the sense that everyone who does alcohol is out of control. And I did not want to be out of control. That's not my jam, not my style. So I was never really into it growing up. My mom also didn't drink. So it's like a brief little history of me. What else? Oh, yeah, so then you get into college, or actually before college. So in this party town that I grew up in, a good size of the population when school's in session is school students. So it's a small town. So they run a certain section of the town. And a lot of this, there's sorority and fraternity houses. And another way that people abuse alcohol is in excess, right? So they used it to have people, pledge their loyalty to the fraternity. And we've had in that town deaths of kids, of students, from overindulging in, beer alcohol, they overdosed and died, just straight up under the social pressure. So once they realized that abuse, they changed it to water at someone I know's fraternity. And that kid also died. There was a kid that died from over drinking too much water from the chug contest. These are all chug contests with sororities and fraternities. So what does that really show you? It just shows you that it's not necessarily the substance that is the bad thing, but the excess and the lack of control with it. And the fact that, peer pressure is not a good thing. You shouldn't have to do something like that. But, that's luckily now a lot of colleges have cracked down on sororities and fraternities in their hazing process. So they don't really haze anymore. It's kind of illegal in their world. They get chapters revoked and such and like that. So, but when it comes down to it, it's like, well, it's the individual's control around alcohol. You have to be able to control it. You cannot let it control you. In the case of the water boy drowning from drinking too much water too quickly is what it was. So it's the amount of the time, the not being in excess and the control of it. So how do we enjoy our alcohol? Because this is really a tool. And how do we control it, right? And I believe it's through education and, entertaining education. So people actually want to learn and know their limits. So most of us have grown up in this whole college, high school environment where you do too much. You go to your breaking point of your limits, maybe even past your limits. And then we hear the stories like that happens at these fraternities. Well, like the example of France or European nations where children are brought up respecting the alcohol and using it moderately, how do we do that here in the United States and elsewhere that do not have these traditions and that exile, all that with the restrictions of alcohol, right? And I think it's through education, for sure. Education, like enjoyment education. We'll call it an enjoyment education of alcohol. So I'm sure, you've gone past your limits. I still sometimes can't even have certain kind of orange juices, even though I do enjoy a mimosa, but if it's orange juice mixed with any other alcohol, it's not good, because that's like one of the first times I think I threw up from too much alcohol. It was mixed with orange juice and something else. Who knows? Same thing with beer. The smell and sight almost of beer is just triggering for me. I don't like it because it reminds me of those, college parties where the homes were just trashed with, beer everywhere and just people acting out of their minds that I just didn't really... it's fun for a little bit, but didn't really enjoy being around. So those are my examples of how how we've gone over the limits in our early years. And that's good to have, because by the time you get out of college and you get a little bit older, your limits, okay, I can't drink all this tequila anymore because I'm going to have a major hangover headache the next day. And I have to work. So you take yourself more seriously and you take the alcohol more seriously, normally by weaning off a little bit, by not binging in excess and being more responsible. So that comes with time and age in this culture. Well, what if it didn't need to take so long for you to get there, right? And even so, we have people who are older who then have alcoholism and alcohol abuse problems. So I think it's about education. What happened? So back home, my dad's still doing his alcoholic thing, having lots of beers every night, maybe even more. I started actually working for a winemaker, and I started I started doing wine marketing because I have a great marketing background, and I started doing wine marketing. Probably led into wine. And through that, I got an education of how wine works, how it's made, how it's fermented, what goes into the process, how to talk about the notes that people get on the nose and the tongue and the taste and the palate and all these great things. I got to go to wineries. I really immersed myself in that, and I even became wine certified in WSET level 1, which was great. And it gives you more of an appreciation of the alcohol that you're drinking, of the wine that you're drinking. So like I said before, I'm not really a beer person, but I got to go back to my hometown, which has a brewing facility in it. I took a boyfriend at the time, and we went and learned all about how beer is made. We got to touch the hops and everything. And even though I'm not really a beer gal, I got to really appreciate it. And I got to realize that I only like stouts. I only like dark, thick, malt, coffee tasting beers because it reminds me of wine. I'm a wine girl. I know most women love wine. Most bros love beer. That's super interchangeable all the time. But if you're more of like a deep cabbie, would love cabs. So then if you are at a beer place, there's only beer, then get a stout and you'll most likely enjoy it. Touching the hops and everything gives a great education. I took my wine education even further. I became a wine educator at a well-known grocery store, supermarket in my area, where I would sample and teach people all about the wine that we had on for sale and give them tastings. So I became TIPS certified, which is like safe serve. So you can serve according to the health standards. So I got a couple of certifications under my belt, specifically in wine and alcohol, just through working because it gave me great money and it was fun and enjoyable. And the interesting thing is, around this same time I was getting all these certifications, I was gaining control over my knowledge and understanding of liquor, alcohol, especially wine. My dad got sober. He got control of his alcoholism. Interestingly enough, he was driving drunk, walked out of the house too stumbly, and my mom called the cops on him. They arrested him when he pulled over, and luckily my dad took it, went to AA, took it to heart, and he was like, this is the best thing that happened to him. My mom saved his life. He just was really actually appreciative because he couldn't see it until he hit his rock bottom. He went into his excess so out of control that it was scary. So my mom did the right thing, my dad did the right thing, and got better, got help, and stayed sober since, which is amazing. Once again, he gained control over it. Admitted that he was a little powerless to that, so he knows his limits and gained control, and gained a little bit more of an education of himself around drinking and around alcohol and alcoholism. So everything was really freaking great. And then unfortunately I had to take another job, and a different full-time job for my career, and I just did the wine education a little bit here on the side, but then COVID hit and I was unable to do any of the samplings anymore, just to get out of the office and go talk to people. I really, really enjoyed that part. And so I was missing doing something with wine. So missing it. And I had all these resources where I could host wine events, okay? But I don't know what to do. I'm really missing it. But even before then, when I was still in the wine marketing world, I had this idea. I was like, I really loved natural wine actually and sustainability, because a lot of wines have sulfates in them. And I remember my friend telling me a story that his housemate had just been over with their friend, and she drank some wine, and they had to call an ambulance, and she had to go to a hospital because she was allergic to sulfates and forgot to tell her friend and forgot to check the bottle of wine, because you're enjoying wine. You just want to have a fun time. You don't want to have to think about all this. And the nice thing is I found a way where you don't have to think too much about it. We're getting to that. But so she had to go to the hospital. Isn't that crazy? Just from drinking a bottle of wine. So what if you didn't have to think about that? Well, that's called natural wine, biodynamic, sustainable, organic wine. And even back in college, because I live in the Santa Barbara area, I was able, and went to school here too, I was able to do a whole, actually, this was my San Francisco school, but anyways, part of my college, I did a green business course, and I did the study on sustainable wineries in the Santa Barbara region. And their practices to keep their vineyards more eco and green, less pesticides. And then the natural wine and stuff is more or less sulfate free because they don't need to put these extra preservatives in it. And these are the things that typically cause headaches. More so than not, the bigger headaches you get from wine are from extra sulfates that are added into the process of the winemaking. So yeah, even in college, I was aware of this. And then when I was doing my wine marketing and doing events, I came across a local natural wine retail shop called Lo-Fi. It was really cool, decorated really great with all their little records and stuff. And the wine guy I worked for, he had a great story of how he came into wine. So I love telling stories. I'm a video person, I'm a photographer, I'm a marketer. Love telling stories, and I got to do that with wine, and it's almost like every bottle had its own story that you got to tell. Really enjoyed that. So fast forward, once again, I'm back into a new career. I'm not doing any wine marketing whatsoever or in-person wine store education, and I'm like, I want to get back into some wine. Oh wait, before we go there, sorry, see, this is why I'm working this out first. Go back, while I was doing the wine marketing and thinking about natural wine, because I wasn't really marketing anything that was sustainable, eco, organic, natural, sulfate-free, pesticide-free, anything like that, or low sulfates, low pesticides. So I approached some places in Napa that I knew were a natural winery, and I was like, can I be an affiliate of yours? Can I sell this? Do you have a social selling model? I was also very into social selling and knowing that's how you have to move ahead and get forward in life exponentially. And nobody was into it. Nobody was already doing it. Nobody was thinking of doing it. I think I had one person who was kind of interested, but it didn't work out. So fast forward, I'm in this career, and it's a great career. It's my funnest job thus far, but I'm like, once again, I'm doing hourly wage, 9 to 5. I'm kind of training for my own career I could do part-time that'll give me more money once I transition out of this, because I'm getting an education. I'm kind of getting paid to get this education, which is wonderful, in a new career path that would give me flexibility. Awesome, but I still know that I need to do something on the side to get out of this job, to supplement my income, to transition my income over before I would be able to do the career part-time that I'm training for in my day job. So once again, I need to do something social selling. I need to do some network marketing. I need to get that going. And so I'm in this state, and I'm wishing that I could do some more wine events and longing for that yet again. Lo and behold, I come across my upline, my mentor Kelly, with a simple ad on Facebook about, selling wine. So of course I take her up on it, and I look at it, and I find Scout and Cellar, and I find that it's natural wine. I find that it's clean wine. I'm in. I've been looking for this for years. I even went and tried to create this for people. I went and tried to get existing natural wine companies to create this social selling model, and here they are doing it themselves. So that takes us to where we are here with Scout and Cellar. Now, this is how I'm the wine marketer, and this is how I'm continuing to be a wine marketer, by selling Scout and Cellar's wine club, their wines. Whether you sign up to sell it, you purchase it, you buy it, whatnot. I also have a club called the Wine Marketers. So anybody who's in my downline who signed up is part of this team, the Wine Marketers. We have the website, and I promote them. Not only do I promote myself, but I promote them because they're on my team. They win, I win, we all win together. So when you do sign up under us, you're going to become, a wine marketer of the week, a wine marketer of the month. We have different highlights to show there. So I market you as well. And most social selling companies or downlines, uplines, whatnot, nobody does that for you. We're doing that because it's a club, it's a group, it's a team. And So you can hear more about my backstory on thewinemarketer.com. But even if you don't sign up, or buy a bottle, even if you don't sign up as a team member and you still buy a bottle, you can still be a wine marketer. You can still promote this. You can still be on the team even if you don't buy a bottle, just by sharing this presentation or sharing any of our posts, you are now in the Wine Marketers Club. Obviously, we won't be promoting you until, you sign up and start getting some sales and knowledge and traction under your belt, and then we'll for sure market the heck out of you. So I hope you enjoyed my wine journey and come along with me to create yours.